Welcome to What to Do When, a podcast from real lawyers with real perspective, where we explore a variety of legal issues and scenarios. Each week, we focus on a new topic and discuss what to do when and if any of these legal scenarios ever happen to you or a loved one. With over 40 years of combined legal experience, our hosts offer their unique perspectives and insights on a range of real-life legal situations.
Hey, welcome back to Critzer Cardani, a podcast here in Richmond, Virginia. I'm Jackie.
I'm Scott. What's on the docket for today, Jackie?
Well, what to do when you're a parent and you're posting online?
Ooh, we just covered that last time about just posting in general. Now we're going to add a layer. What about being a parent? Does it matter? Does that change the dynamic at all?
Well, so here's part of the problem, right? Let's say we're in a custody case, because that all comes down to that. If we're talking about parents and parents getting in trouble, it's going to come down to pretty much being a topic about whether it impacts custody.
And that includes social services taking your children.
Oh, for sure. So if you are concerned that something you're posting, maybe you're doing drugs. People do stupid things like that. Drinking and driving. They take pictures of themselves, videos of themselves on Snapchat, drinking a long neck, driving down the interstate.
Yep.
Does it have an impact on custody? And the answer is absolutely it can have an impact on custody.
Absolutely. And folks, again, we ended the last statement saying when you're going to post something or you're thinking about making a video, always remember to go, why am I making this video?
Mm-hmm.
And is this a good idea?
Mm-hmm.
And again, as we said before, the answer is always no, but I can't think of too many times that she asked for bad stuff. Obviously, making an instructional video or putting your life out there and saying, hey, I have a happy life, that's not a problem. But
And there is a difference between recording you doing something illegal and then you versus you recording something that's immoral, right? Because our courts technically aren't the moral police. They're not trying to regulate morality, even though we want them to.
Exactly, which I don't agree with, but it's gotten more and more away from, and that's one of the future topics we're going to talk about modeling and how that affects. But here we are again. Let's take something even simpler. I see this all the time in custody cases where one of the parents are like posting about their mental health.
Oh, yes.
I want to kill myself. I feel so depressed. My children are driving me nuts. How do you think that plays in a custody case?
I'm so glad they're in bed. Now I can throw back and drink and drink and drink.
Yeah.
I mean, you would not believe the things people post that turn around and bite them in the butt because we get a hold of it and we use it against them in court.
And we were talking about this topic last time, and I probably shouldn't transition to it, but I do think it's important. We got this case in Virginia where I think she's a delegate.
Running for political office somewhere.
But anyways, she posted online, that got out there, and her candidacy is, up in the air or whatever. I don't even know. I'm not getting into that. But my point is, my understanding is she has 2 small children.
That's my understanding as well.
So that becomes a huge question. How does there's a lot of stuff in the articles about people coming over and things like that. How does that affect, Jackie? Would that affect your custody?
I think the better question is, what if she and her husband, separate fact scenario, this is not a real person. Let's just examine this under a hypothetical. You've got a husband and wife, no intention of separating, happily married. They have young children or a young child, and it's this sort of same behavior has been exposed where they have recorded themselves. They've posted their own pornographic videos online somewhere. They've been further disseminated and further exposed. Is that putting them in jeopardy of losing their children? And of course, I can't say straight off, yes, of course, that's yes. No, the answer isn't just that. It's just not that straightforward. The better question is there neglect? Is there abuse? What happens if that's going on? Can CPS get involved? And the question is, it just depends on how egregious the behavior is, right?
And remember, they're not looking for how it affects you. They're looking at how it's going to affect that child and what the impact on that child is. For instance, is having men coming to your house to perform sex acts when your children... Yeah,
or women.
Sorry. When your children are home, does that put your children at risk? My personal opinion, Absolutely.
Sure.
And I'll say this, like I said, you practice a long time in this thing. You see the ugly society. You see the things that happen. There are a lot of people out there who have relationships with adults to get at their children. That's their whole purpose. Their purpose has nothing to do with the adult consensual sex. It is about being a predator. So, those things to me are always out. When 1 in 4 kids have been molested as average, and some of the statistics say, this is not something like it's an anomaly. It's not like it doesn't happen. So, when social services or anybody steps in, or you're the other parent and you find out this is going on, how does that affect? And then you get into what your kids know about what's going on in your house and how that modeling, how that behavior affects their behavior. Are they opened up to that relationship, that intimacy way too early? And I will tell you that the guys who do psychosexuals and things like that always talk about that. I've had several conversations with them talking about what is a kid supposed to do when he's exposed to that experience and that information before he's ready, and it creates an openness and starts to open him up, and then he has no proper expression for that. Right. And then that's how it gets perverted so often. So right. I know I'm probably making a lot of people mad out there, but these are things that concern me, and these are things that Jackie and I want to talk about. Is like, okay, we do these things, but we often don't think how they affect our children, somebody else's children. And then they, like I said, we see them all the time come up in custody cases. So when you're posting and you're going like, or making a video. I mean, I had a case years ago, and, the parents thought they did something private, and the kids found it. Right. And that happens all the time. People go, oh, that never happened to me.
It does happen.
And like she was saying in her earlier video, iCloud or your online support system captures it and sends it back for some reason because, I don't know. These things happen all the time. And then like all of a sudden your kid's at the breakfast table eating breakfast thinking he's playing some video game, and all of a sudden he's watching something he shouldn't watch. Or we leave something on in the room that shouldn't be on it, so it's all that stuff.
But but does it impact custody? Does it impact your parenting? Does it shine a light on, is CPS going to get involved? And I would say the first step in the analysis is, well, are you recording yourself doing something illegal? Drugs are illegal, except for marijuana in Virginia. Not talking about that. Around your children, bad idea. Is it, does it deal with prostitution? Does your video deal with prostitution? That's still illegal in Virginia. So if your video includes something that you're doing that is illegal and your children are present, or maybe even if they're not present and it's illegal, I think that's opening yourself up to potential investigation.
I do. And then you take the next step. The next iteration is, are you doing something that's, I don't even say immoral, but just something that could have a bad effect? For instance, you have a healthy relationship and you're filming each other, and if children get a hold of that, you can't tell me that's not going to have an impact depending on how it affects the kid. So, those things are all, I just can't get enough of how we've been numbed into this effect that we can do these things and they have no consequence. And you and I see the consequence every day. There are people out there who get away with it years and months and decades and never have a problem. I get it. And probably I would say the majority of society has no problem with it. But when it's you and it becomes your problem, it's usually a pretty big problem. And Jackie and I have had many cases in a custody case where those things come out and they're very, very difficult to deal with.
They are difficult to deal with, and regulating morality and regulating, your parenting time, whether it's an immoral or an illegal activity that you're dead to rights, you've recorded it yourself. It just makes our job, depending on which side of the case we're on, either really hard or quite easy. So the entire point today is be wise. And if you're going to record yourself, maybe, consider what ramifications there could be if your children got a hold of the video, if your employer got a hold of the video, if your church members got a hold of the video. You just be reasonable and consider that the audience that you intend to have may not be the audience that actually sees what it is you're recording.
And again, takeaway 2, if I'm going to post something, slow down enough to say, why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
What's my purpose? What's my content? What am I doing here? And is this a good idea? And I think if you slow down and do that matrix all the time, it's like it just at least makes you have a good decision instead of a bad decision. Some people make the bad decision regardless, and I know that. But for most of us, if we can slow down our little thought process, I'm going to videotape this right now, and say, is that a good idea? Maybe not. Maybe I won't post it. So all those things. We just want you to know that the world, we're naive if we think the world hides these things. They don't. These things come out all the time. They're always a problem. They're never good. And
often normalized when it's for their purpose and demonized when they want it to be, right? Yeah. The oh, please do this on the one hand and then used against you and weaponized against you on the other is just, that's fish in a barrel. That's an easy way to get you to maybe cross a boundary that you ordinarily wouldn't. So consider it. We're here to help. We're always here to help. Yeah. If you find yourself in a situation where you're a victim of being recorded without your knowledge, or if you have found that somebody has taken a recording of yours and done something with it, that published it in some way, or threatened you or harassed you or is trying to coerce you or blackmail you, get in touch with us and we'll see what we can do. You can reach us at info@cclawva.com or 804-793-8010.
And remember to like and subscribe. That helps us out and lets us know we're getting our content out there. Have a good day.
Thanks.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of What to Do When. For more episodes, be sure to subscribe to our podcast, and we encourage you to check our archives to listen to previous topics. Tune in next week for a new episode and some fresh perspective from Critzer Cardani.